Rules sound fair. They sound like sportsmanship. They sound like playing the game the right way. But anyone who's watched, say, Israel Adesanya knows this. He doesn't break the rules when he fights. He bends the expectations, just like Richie McCaw as well. Rules exist to keep everything orderly. They do not exist to help you dominate. And people who follow each rule perfectly usually end up protecting averages, but not beating them. I do like Schwarzenegger's quote, break the rules, not the law.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you follow all the rules to the letter, there's two likely parties to benefit. The rule makers are going to benefit if you follow all the rules, and usually they already have the power. They don't want to give it up. And then the people that are already in the game, at the top of the game, it's very hard to displace those already at the top if you follow all the rules to the letter.
I am unashamedly a big fan of WWE because it's a billion-dollar industry. I've spoken about this many, many times, and I don't care what people think. I just do. And I remember in the late 80s, the commentator Jesse Ventura, who was a star on Predator with Schwarzenegger, had this line. He was a heel commentator, like the baddies. And his line was, "It's not cheating unless you're caught." You agree?
Yeah, I mean, there's grades of sportsmanship and gamesmanship that gets you a certain edge. And in so many sports and in life and business and investing, there are gradients. There's gray areas when it comes to deal making and deal sourcing and marketing and sales. They all have elements of grayness. You know, what is the right way to sell something? What are the right incentives to include? Is marketing this or marketing that? There's so many different interpretations of what is right and wrong. And whoever says truth with a capital T is this, you have to be suspicious about that because they probably are protecting their patch.
Yeah. So Richie McCaw in New Zealand is seen as a god, but through the rest of the world, particularly in Australia and South Africa, he was forever a cheat.
Seen as a cheat, forever a cheat. But the judge of whether he was cheating or not is the referee. And as long as the referee is allowing it in his vision at that time, then it's play on. Now, with provisions and rule changes and third umpires and different angles, there's going to be different interpretations, but that didn't matter. It only mattered about the referee for that 80 minutes. So in terms of rules when it comes to investing or business, yeah, you have to understand the law, but you also have to understand that some of the rules that are in place are guidelines and not rules, and they're more expectations from industry players than they are actual laws. So the rules that you think that are in place are more like what have been passed down from generation of generation, and those rules change and flex and bend to whoever is going to put them at their will.
So two of the most famous recording artists in history, Elvis Presley, he broke the rules. He took black gospel music and sang as a white man. He was a white man singing it. And that's one of the key reasons why he became so famous. Or the dancing as well, broke the rules. And then Eminem is the same. Eminem took African-American rap music and became a white guy doing it. Those are the reasons why those guys are so successful. Don't pretend that they're not.
Yep, and like I said, there's laws and there's rules and there's guidelines and there's gradients of grayness. And if you get caught up trying to stay coloring in the lines of everything you do in life, you're just never going to achieve any greatness.
And look at the hate that Elvis Presley had and the hate that Eminem did. You've got to back yourself.
Well, it's hate and love, right? Because they are both now and they were loved. And you look at today's modern influencers, Andrew Tate, for example, people love him and people hate him. And it's same with Donald Trump, same with these people in positions of power. Hated and loved sometimes cancels each other out and you get success on the other side.
When did being obedient get confused with integrity?
Yeah, well, we're taught from a young age in school that we should listen and only respond when we're spoken to, especially boys, female teachers, little boys going through school. We're constantly told to be quiet, to fit in, to line up, to be patient, to not be boisterous. And that that stays with you. And the masculine energy is rebellious. You can't run a school or a prison with a lot of flamboyant masculine energy. It doesn't work. So the way society is structured these days is to fit us all in these boxes, is to suppress the rebellious masculine energy, to suppress our nature, so that it's much easier for the rule makers to structurally look after us in an easier way.
So should you just see rules as guardrails?
Essentially, they are guardrails, and they're not. It's not black and white. As soon as you can get away from thinking that life is black and white, even with the law, because there's laws that conflict with each other, and there are laws that are not, they are very old and they're not going to be enforced. So once you understand that everything in life is a gray area, how to sell, how to market, how to hire, how to fire, how to invest, all these things are open to interpretation. And you should collect information from people you respect, and you should learn what you don't want to do from people you don't respect, and then make up your own standards and principles in your mind based on the rules as you interpret them, and set your own pathway forward. Like, the rules were probably written, the rules 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. There's always time for new rules, and there's always time for rules to be retired. And the rebellious kind of troublemakers are the ones that help the establishment, whatever it may be, whatever industry, to set new rules and to break and remake the rules. And every so often, you need to have a Jubilee type event where rules are thrown in the bin and you start again. Because otherwise you get to a point where you have 1,000 rules and nobody knows what to do.
The reality is, if you stay with the rules, you're likely to stay average.
Yeah, because you're at a disadvantage against the people that are willing to bend and break the rules. And if somebody knows how to beat the system by operating just outside those lines, it's very, very difficult to compete. So you need to accept mediocrity if you're always going to play in that safe sandbox and never speak out. Otherwise, if you want to achieve some greatness, you have to do something different from the 80% sitting in the middle, which is the masses, because that is average. Breaking out of average requires non-average activity.
But it's scary, isn't it? And New Zealand is a conservative country at the end of the day, where tall poppy syndrome, if you are outside the square, you're going to be attacked.
Yep, and that's why your environment and the people you hang out with are so important. The rule breakers, they get in a little posse and do things together usually. And if your network, your crowd, your family, your friends are plain vanilla and not doing anything exciting, it's time to level up and find a group that you can hang out with sometimes that have creative ways of achieving their goals. So we, in business and investing, we talk about creative financing, which involves the seller giving you a loan. Now that is certainly frowned upon by the rule makers because it's not normal and it's hard to categorize, and it requires bespoke legal arrangements or even arrangements that are not legally binding. They're just, on a napkin kind of deal. Banks want you to use mortgages. Lawyers want you to use 30-page agreements. The reality is, I have a $700,000 vendor loan, which is creative financing, on an email. It's basically a handshake for one of my businesses. That doesn't just happen by following the rules. And it's because I've worked with a guy for years and years and years, and he's an ex-lawyer, and there's a lot of trust involved. So following the rules doesn't get you to achieving above average returns and results.
If this made you slightly uncomfortable, good. That usually means it's useful. There are more conversations like this across the channel about money, discipline, identity, and why most people overcomplicate simple things. Have a look around. Subscribe if you want thinking that actually holds up under pressure.